It was November 14th, 2011, 24 hours before Florida would cross another name off its execution list. Number 71 in the state's modern era, Oba Chandler. Just a week earlier, his final legal lifeline had snapped. "You're at the end," his attorney, Bea Harrison III, said. That afternoon, Harrison stood outside Florida State Prison, facing some microphones, offering a glimpse inside. Oba, he said, was now on 24-hour death watch. He had given up fighting. 17 years of failed legal war had drained him. Once a courtroom menace, now a frail old man, begging for it to be over. He's broken, health in decline, heart disease, high blood pressure, kidney failure, arthritis. 2 decades in a concrete box had taken its toll. He doesn't want to live anymore, tired of life in that cramped cell under harsh conditions. But one thing hadn't changed. No remorse, not a word. He doesn't even discuss guilt, Harrison admitted, but he's past saying he was wronged. Up in Ohio, a man named Hal Rogers got a phone call. The governor's office. One final confirmation. It was happening tomorrow. The state had kept him in the loop for years. This was the official word. Now, just one night away, Hal was out at his workshop trying to stay busy. A busted combine gave him just enough distraction, but the memories always broke through. Days earlier, curiosity pulled him to Google. He searched Chandler's name. Up came the mugshot. He smirked. "Old Obi," he said. "Looks like a harmless Charlie Brown, don't he? Just like somebody's grandpa." But Hal knew better. It was his wife, Joan, and their teenage daughters, Michelle and Christy, who were floating in Tampa Bay back in 1989. Just days before, he'd kissed them goodbye for their first mother-daughter trip out of state. 1 week in Florida, theme parks, beaches, the usual, until they got lost near Tampa and a stranger gave them directions. His name? Oba Chandler. On the surface, a 42-year-old aluminum contractor. Underneath, a career felon. He offered them a sunset cruise on his boat, a kind stranger on a warm Florida night. What tourist would refuse? Later that night, 4 left the dock. Only Chandler came back. A chameleon-like creature, a prosecutor said, the kind who plays the friendly stranger. The case went cold until a scribble cracked it. Handwriting left on a tourist brochure found in the Rogers rental car. Detectives took a swing. They blew it up on billboards. The gamble worked. One tip led to a palm print match. One Canadian tourist, attacked just 18 days earlier on that same boat, lived and testified. Chandler exploded in court. "It's ludicrous, ridiculous," swore he was fishing alone that night. But the jury didn't flinch. 12 votes. Guilty. Now, 22 years later, the clock was running out. Hal's rage had cooled, but not disappeared. He no longer spoke of flipping the switch himself. Tomorrow he could watch, front row. Would he? "I ain't made up my mind yet," he said. "I doubt it. I don't need any closure." He paused. "I might decide last minute." That night, in one final gesture, officials offered Chandler a spiritual advisor, someone to break the silence. He declined, just like he had with everyone else. In 17 years on death row, not a single visitor had ever come. His attorney said some family members had wanted to see him, but years ago, Chandler removed every name from his visitation list. Angry for reasons never fully explained. And under Florida law, once a death warrant is signed, that list becomes final. No changes, no exceptions. Truth is, he would have liked to see some of them, Harrison said, but it was too late. The list stayed empty. Under 24-hour watch, Chandler spent the night in silence. No incidents noted. By night's end, he drifted off, alone. The morning of November 15th broke quiet. Chandler stirred after a night of light, broken sleep. Staff logged him as compliant with all instructions. He passed on breakfast, said he wasn't hungry. never was much of a breakfast guy, and today wasn't the day to start new habits. But he did ask for one thing, a single sheet of paper. There was something he needed to put down. By 9 a.m., he handed it to the guards. A few officials read it. Their reactions were mixed, surprised, maybe even shocked. A confession? A statement? Something else entirely? It stayed sealed for now. Later, more would learn what it said, and so will you before this story ends. His final meal came early because by supper he'd be gone. And Oba went big by preschool standards. 2 salami sandwiches on white bread with just a touch of mustard. But the real kicker? A peanut butter and grape jelly sandwich. Something you'd expect in a toddler's lunchbox, not on the row. Originally he asked for iced tea, but changed his mind last minute. Went with coffee instead. The whole meal came in well under Florida's $40 limit. He ate both salami sandwiches, made it halfway through the PB&J, finished his drink, took a shower, and got dressed. Not in prison garb, not today. Florida gives them options, after all. He picked dark slacks and a plain white shirt. Something modest, respectable, like the man inside never was. Almost time. One last twist. Out of nowhere, Hal Rogers showed up. No one expected him, but at the very last minute, he'd changed his mind. Not for vengeance, not for closure, for family. He came for Mandy, his niece. She needed to see it, Hal said. And once I knew she wasn't backing down, I wasn't letting her walk in there alone. They left Ohio in the dark that morning. 2 drives and a flight from Fort Wayne to Jacksonville landed them at Rayford's gates by 2 p.m. Those gates had swung open just minutes earlier for another man, Bea Harrison, Chandler's attorney. A man who once said Oba was hard to understand and even harder to like. Still, he came. The only one who did. And soon, the only witness on Chandler's side of the glass. He's compliant, calm, and docile, said DOC spokeswoman Gretel Plessinger. But Harrison saw something deeper. A broken man, stoic about it. Chandler was moved to the chamber's holding area, strapped in and prepped. No struggle, no words. Outside, the world spun differently. Perimeter roads closed off, barricades went up, and like clockwork, the voices returned. The same ones that show up every time. Signs, chants, the usual refrains. Arbitrary, expensive, immoral. Roped off behind barricades, facing a small group of supporters. Back inside, everything was ready. Only one step left. The witness briefing. 32 were approved. Reporters, prosecutors, law enforcement, and a few whose pain was personal. At the warden's signal, the curtain finally rose, slow and smooth, like a stage reveal. 7 minutes late. It should have opened on the hour. Hal Rogers, middle seat, front row. Dozens filled the rows behind. The room was packed, but quiet as a church. No one spoke, no one moved, until the curtain reached its peak and the monster was fully revealed. Whispers rippled across the rows. The room leaned forward, confused. It looked like the job was already done. 7 minutes behind closed curtains? Had they missed it? Chandler showed no sign of life. Strapped down, IVs in both arms, eyes sealed shut, he looked finished. But the team inside kept moving because he wasn't gone, not yet. The delay? Hunting for a suitable vein. The first visible step came quietly. A staffer picking up the phone, direct line to the governor's office. Final check, pure protocol. No surprises, just the all-clear signal. Then the intercom kicked on. Inmate Chandler, do you have a final statement? He once promised fireworks, told a reporter he'd go out defiant. Kiss my rosy red ass. Instead, he said, no. Loud, but empty. And the only thing he'd say, no fire, no remorse, no courage either. He never moved, opened his eyes, or faced anyone in the room. With nothing more to say, the process began. Pentobarbital to sedate, pancuronium bromide to paralyze, potassium chloride to stop the heart. Many hoped for pain, for panic, for anything close to what his victims endured. But his end came silent, almost peaceful. A few quiet minutes and it was over. At 4:25 p.m., Oba Chandler was pronounced dead. The end? Not quite. This case came with a sequel. The note he handed over that morning? About an hour later, they finally revealed what he wrote. "You are killing an innocent man today. Not a flicker of remorse, just one final lie. Thanks for watching. You just learned what most never will." Make it a weekly habit. Subscribe, because while others report the race, we show you how it ends.